Good morning, everybody. It's Tom Christie back in the carving shop, and this will be session 3 of carving a 6-inch long, so less than life size, Preening Drake Mallard. In the previous 2 sessions, we got the head shaped up, the body rough carved. In this session, I want to get the body finished up, get the head mounted, hopefully get the bird sealed and ready, primed and ready for paint. That's the plan anyway, although it's supposed to be about 100 degrees outside today in Nebraska. My shop is not air conditioned, so the heat may drive me out and break this into a couple of sessions. We'll see how it goes. I'm starting in the morning when it's still nice and cool. And if you're enjoying my channel, please hit the subscribe button. It's totally free, but that does help me out, and it's a good show of support for the channel. If you're getting value out of what I'm doing here, I would really appreciate that. The goal of this channel, I've repeated this often, but it's to provide free resources for people that are thinking about carving, maybe you've never thought about carving, but have kind of a creative spirit, want to make something with your hands, have a love for wildfowl. You combine those 3 things, and I think you'd really enjoy it. All right, let's get going. Welcome back.
I'm just going to use my 1/2-inch sanding drum, and if you notice this electrician's tape here, I just loaded a new piece of sandpaper in. Sometimes I have trouble getting that to stay fastened down there, so I like to load a piece of tape on there initially, and I'll take that off later once I'm confident that the sandpaper is going to hold on to the drum. So you'll see that disappear later in the video. I'm just using this drum to do a lot of cleanup work, remove all of the grinding lines, and do some final shaping of the body as I go. This 1/2-inch sanding drum, I think James Company has those available. It's a great tool. And I like the 1/2-inch size. They make them larger, like 3/4 inch diameter as well. And I have one of those, but I've just kind of gotten used to the 1/2-inch because I can get into tight spots with that 1/2-inch diameter that I can't touch with the 3/4 inch diameter drum. So just cleaning things up. And as I mentioned, also doing some final shaping. Some final sculpting with this tool. So I won't show a lot of this sanding. You don't need to watch me go around the entire bird and sand off the marks, but I wanted to show enough where you get a feel for how I use this tool. You can see I'm manipulating the bird back and forth, and again using the edge of that to really clean up separation lines between groups of feathers, and then the side of the drum to just finish things off. I'll still have to do some hand sanding later, but this saves a lot of time to do the rough sanding in this manner. So I'll skip ahead a little bit. Okay, further along, getting close to being done here, but I'll go over the entire bird, get it all sanded, and then I'll come back.
Okay, I've got things rough sanded, and now I'm just going to take some time with hand sanding. This is 150 grit, and go over the entire bird and smooth things out. I'm not going to include a lot of this to put you to sleep, but I wanted to include a little just so that you know after rough sanding it's going to take some time to get things smoothed out, get rid of the ridges, get in these tight spots that I couldn't get into with the sanding drum, and sometimes I'll just kind of roll up a piece of sandpaper and then I can use it as a tool. The other thing I use a lot is a pin vise. You can find these online. I think James Company also sells pin vices, and basically they're just a tool that you can put your ruby bits in, or any bit that you have, clamp it in place. I've got a ball bit on this end and a flame bit on this end, and it's great for this type of just very small shaping work where you need a little bit more than just sandpaper to finalize the shape of things. The tip of that flame shape I can use to really get in around these tight spots like that tail curl and put a little more definition in there as it meets the top of the tail. And so again, I don't want to show too much of this, but just know there's quite a bit of work to go in here, clean up all of these tight spots, especially on a miniature. They're kind of hard to get to, so you're going to have to spend some time cleaning things up so that when I move to the painting process, I don't have a bunch of lumps and bumps and awkward looking structure there. Okay, I'll be back after I get that done. Then we'll do some more layout work. I want to add a few more feather details.
And before we do that, I want to circle back to the head, add a few details on the bill. So I've penciled in the nail and then those side ridges on the front of the bill, and I'm going to use a small ruby cylinder, and about the smallest one I have, and go in here and cut a groove to outline the nail. This is in such small dimensions that it takes a very light touch and a steady hand. So I'm doing cutting a groove first. This doesn't have to be very deep, and then I'm going to go back with the side of the cylinder, remove material so that we form that ridge on the edge of the bill, then go back in this direction and round that ridge. You can see this thing is so small it's even hard to hang on to, so picking up the other side, and this will take some time to go back and forth, make sure there's a nice clean lines and carving, and then I'll use some sandpaper. I'm going to fold up a piece, get a sharp corner, and use that to get into these tight areas and go in both directions to smooth everything out here, including rounding the nail. So I'm kind of using the side of that to smooth out the grinding lines. Same thing on each side. Now I've penciled in this little ridge on the lower edge of the upper mandible. I'm going to just do a very shallow knife line here on each side to give myself a guideline. And then get a very small ruby cylinder. And this is going to take a light touch again, just to follow that score line. Remove a little bit of material so there's a shadow cast there. Again, hard to hang on to the small head. And that's about all it's going to take. I'll do a little sanding to smooth that out a bit. Now I want to get a dimension, get my nostril enclosures located here from the upper edge of the notch there. Put a little mark. Looks like the nostril enclosure is about that same dimension. So some very light marks there. Now I can pencil in the nostril enclosures around the center line and keep those symmetrical as much as possible. This gives me a guideline for the carving, and then I can make adjustments as I go to make sure I'm happy with the way they look. So I've got that small cylinder again, a very light touch. I'm just kind of forming a groove around the outer edge of the enclosure so that I can begin to shape it up. And then I'm going to remove material above and below so that the enclosure itself is raised a little bit. And then round the enclosure with the side of the tool. I'm going to get my pencil out here, pencil in what I've done so far so that it's very obvious where I need to continue to work. And I'll use some sandpaper, get that all shaped up. Now I'm going to use the tip of this flame bit to drill the nostril holes themselves very delicately. It's very easy to slip and take out the entire enclosure, so this just takes, again, a steady hand, a good brace for your hands, and just drill a little nostril opening. About like that. I'll use my pencil to darken those openings and make any refinements I need to do. A little sandpaper to smooth things up. So I'll get those finished up and then we'll come back and take a look.
All right, I've got the bill details done, and I wanted to make a final adjustment to the head position, so I took a little off the front of the neck so that I could get a little bit of a head tilt as the bird is really digging into the corner of the front of the side pocket there. I just think it looks more natural. Now I can fasten the head, but before I do that, I want to get a few of these body details carved. All right, I've penciled in a few guidelines there by referring to my pattern. And I get a dimension from the tip of the primaries to the tip of the tertial there, so I can locate that properly. It's a big, long, wide feather, a couple of feathers layered underneath, and then I've got the speculum. It's going to be pulled out on this side. I've got that laid in there. And this will be some of the wing feathers exposed up here, and then I'm going to drop the scapulars back into the side pocket there. On this side, a little less speculum. Still would like to show some blue color over here, so those tertials are tucked under the overlapping primaries here. A little bit of speculum, and then this is going to tuck in here the rest of the way. All right, get that carving done. I'm not going to try to detail a bunch of feathers with carving. I'm going to do that with paint. So that's about all the carving I'm going to do on this bird.
I'm going to use a 1/8 inch cylindrical ruby bit. It's got grit on the end of it, so I can use the end of it like an end mill here and just go around my tertial initially and then start removing material just by using the end of the bit and make pretty quick work of that. Do the same thing on these tertials. I'm cutting the edge like that, and then again using the tip or the end of the bit to kind of create those steps down. Now I'll cut this in a bit. You can see I'm not going very deep here. just enough to cast a little bit of a shadow, and then I'll do the rest with paint. Now I'm cutting in the rear edge of the speculum, and I want these wing feathers, the primary feathers, to show down here as they tuck into the side pocket. So I've just got a little bit of some carving there, and then I want to do the same thing on the front part of the speculum here, so that it appears as though we have some overlapping feathers as we do on the live bird. And I'm using the side of the bit to clean up the primaries there as they tuck down under the speculum and into the side pocket, and then doing a little bit of cleanup. There you can have a better view with a little bit of lighting, overhead lighting. So you can see this is all real-time carving. It doesn't take long to add these details. As usual, I'll come back and do sanding to clean everything up, but this kind of creates the structure I'm looking for in the feather groups. Clean up the lower edge of this tertial as it meets the body. It's a little hard to see in this view. I realize that. We'll get a little better look, I think, coming up at the carving that's been done here. There, it's a little better view. That's about all I want to do over there. I'll do some sanding. I'm going to do the same type of thing on this side. Use the edge of the bit to cut in a bit, and then the side of the bit to lower the speculum group so that these things look layered. Same thing over here. I've got a bit of the primaries coming down and tucking into the side pocket just behind the speculum. Right in here. There's a better view of what I've done on that side. Do some sanding and I'll come back. Just a final cleanup. I'm going to use my pin vise again and the point of that flame bit and really go along these feather edges and clean everything up. And you can almost use this like an embossing tool to do a little bit of pressing in to create more depth. Now I'll sand everything and be back.
Okay, I've mixed up a little 2-part Devcon epoxy. And we'll get the head attached here. I've kind of marked where the bill makes contact, and I want a little bit of epoxy in that location so the bill kind of anchors into that point. Yeah, that's touching the bill there. Head angle that we want. wipe off the excess epoxy, and we'll let that set. And we can do some final shaping of the neck as it curls into the breast after this is set up. Just a quick look at that final head position. Okay, everybody, I think that's a good place to stop this session. I'm going to let that neck joint set up, and then next time we'll take care of filling the neck joint, get the bird sealed up and ready for paint. Probably start the painting process at that time too. It's time for lunch. It's getting hot. I've already changed my clothes. So until next time, Tom Christie signing out. Good carving to you.